Hey, it's finally Foundation Friday. If you're new here on Fridays, I sit down and talk about a new or old, we don't discriminate here, foundation that I've been trying out. I do multi-day wear tests using a variety of tools, techniques, and products. Since you're interested in learning more about the new Merit, the Minimalist Perfecting Complexion Foundation and Concealer Stick, let's go ahead and get started. Merit is a new brand that just launched at Sephora. Their first Instagram post was September 2020, so they're a relatively new brand overall. Merit reimagines luxury beauty by making clean, well-edited essentials that have earned a place on your vanity. They focus on responsible luxury, making products safe for body, skin, and planet. Merit is minimalist beauty. They simplify what it means to get ready. I found a little bit more information about the brand on their website. Responsible luxury. Merit is minimalist beauty. We take a holistic approach to clean, creating formulas that are safe for our body, skin, and planet. Your self-care routine should be safe. Our products are EU compliant, which means we've removed 1,328 potentially harmful ingredients from our formulas, in addition to dozens more that don't meet our standards. We believe in products that leave your skin looking better after wearing them. We added skin-loving ingredients to our formulas like plant-based squalane, vitamin B5, and antioxidants. Luxury can be responsible. We are vegan, cruelty-free, and certified by Leaping Bunny. We aim to eliminate as much virgin plastic as possible from our products and operations. Our shipment packaging is recyclable, reusable, or biodegradable. If you buy from their website, they have a really cute makeup bag with your first purchase. Just throwing that out there. In many ways, beauty and self-care has reached a fever pitch. A saturated market with products coming out every few days, full of ingredients we can't pronounce, eyeshadow palettes with 50 colors when we only use 2, and more additions to a list of what it takes to get ready. Does a 10-step skincare routine sound familiar? In 2020, we reset. We learned that we don't need much. We've become accustomed to bare nails, natural hair, and days without makeup. We're indulging in minimalism and brands that bring us more with less. Welcome to your morning ritual simplified. One thing that I found on their website that I really appreciate is that they're working with a nonprofit organization, Baby to Baby. I'll pop the full information on the screen, and I'll also link down below in case you wanted to check it out further. With the economic and social impact of COVID-19, there are more children living in poverty than ever. Merit volunteers, donates, and supports Baby to Baby, a nonprofit organization that provides children in poverty across the United States with diapers, clothing, and other basic necessities. At checkout, you can also directly donate to Baby to Baby alongside your order. Now moving on to the review. The Minimalist Foundation Stick retails for $38 and you get 0.13 ounces, which is far less than a standard foundation, even by stick standards. There are 20 shades in this range that go from fair to deep. I picked up the shade Dune, which is light with cool undertones. When I first swatched it, I did think it was a little too dark for me, but because I still had a little self-tan on, I think it ended up matching okay. If I were interested in repurchasing this, I would drop a shade because I noticed that it deepened slightly throughout the day as I wore it. I'm going to insert some swatches of the Merit Minimalist Foundation Stick. Merit Foundation in the shade Dune, Kaya Weiss Cream Foundation in the shade Like Porcelain, Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Hydrating Foundation Stick in the shade Opal 01, Marc Jacobs Extra Shot Foundation and Concealer in the shade Light 130. These last 3 are from foundation sample packets, not foundations that I have in real life, so I'm not sure how true to color they are. This one is the RMS Uncover Up Foundation in the shade 11.5. This is the Hourglass Vanish Stick in the shade Shell. And this last one is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Concealer in the shade Light Medium Neutral 05. And these swatches are done in natural lighting. Pulling up the description, it's a vegan, natural finish, long-wearing, fragrance-free, cruelty-free, and clean at Sephora foundation. It's medium coverage and can be used as a foundation and or a concealer. It was created to mimic the finish of healthy skin. It provides buildable, blendable coverage with a lightweight, hydrating texture and wears throughout the day without settling into fine lines. The foundation stick does come in a recyclable cardboard box. The Minimalist Foundation Stick is a moderately luxe plastic tube. The plastic tube is actually 43% recycled plastic. There's an imprint of the brand's logo on the top. The cap itself is quite snug, so you do have to give it a good yank to pull it off, but I guess then you at least know it's secure. The tip does get quite dirty. Anyway, you rotate the bottom to twist it up or down. I do want to add in here real quick that since I've started using the foundation, my stick has broken. It didn't come broken as far as I know, but at some point during my using the foundation, I don't know if the formula is just so soft that from the continuous pressing onto the skin, it just caused it to break, but that is something that I wanted to note. The formula is mostly creamy, though there is a slight stiffness to it. It glides smoothly and blends out easier when I apply it to my hand than it does on my face. I think because my face is drier and more textured. It does set down, but it's not transfer proof and it does not wear well underneath the mask. For application, you're meant to apply this directly to your face and then blend it out using a brush and or your fingers. In the founder's video on Sephora, she does mention that there's a way to somehow build this up to full coverage. I don't have the Merit brush, but I'm a big believer in if there's a specific tool that I need to use your product, it should come included with that product. And if it's not, any brush is fair game. I used the Real Techniques number 200 brush, which is my preferred brush to use with a stick foundation. I also tried using the Ulta number 13 brush, which has become my favorite foundation brush for liquid foundations. Between the two, I did prefer using the Ulta number 13 brush, but they both performed similarly. With the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Hydrating Foundation Stick, I liked to take my brush and swipe that over the foundation and then apply it to my face that way. I did one wear test trying this technique with the Merit Minimalist foundation stick, though I did find out with this foundation, I like to apply it to my face and then buff it out with the brush more. I did try using my fingers, but it just wasn't my preferred way of blending this out. I think because I have so much of my face that I feel needs to be covered, that using my fingers just wasn't as efficient or effective for me. I did notice that I don't think the foundation blends in with my skin very well when I use my fingers to apply it. Using every other method resulted in a more skin-like finish than when I used my fingers to apply. What I wasn't expecting was how much I enjoyed using a sponge to blend out this foundation. Usually I wouldn't put a stick foundation and a sponge together, but in this case, it worked great. The coverage and the finish were exactly what I look for in this kind of foundation. When I use the brush to apply the foundation, it does give a natural finish, but more on the matte, dull, flat side. But when I use the sponge to apply the foundation, I get that dewy, healthy, natural look. I did try using this foundation as a concealer, and it didn't work well under the eyes, but as a spot concealer, it worked pretty well. I also tried using this as an eye primer just for science, and it was a terrible idea. I had bald patches on my eye, I had creasing, my eyeshadow was moving around so much throughout the day. I highly, highly suggest do not use this as an eye primer. When I used this as a concealer underneath my eyes, I noticed that it emphasized the texture and the dryness that I have, and it also made them look very crepey, but when I used it as a spot concealer, it didn't look nearly as bad as it did under my eyes. I did play around with mixing this foundation and the Kosas Tinted Face Oil as well as the Milk Makeup Sunshine Skin Tint. I like the way that this wears better when it's paired with an oil, and I noticed that it definitely melted more into the skin and became much more skin-like when it was mixed with an oil-based foundation or a serum. I'm going to change it up a little bit for today's video and skip my 3-day wear test footage and just kind of spend some time going over my experience. Since this is a new brand and I don't have a ton of experience with stick foundations, I didn't have a lot of expectations. I have previously used and loved and then forgotten about the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Hydrating Foundation Stick. So that was really the only stick formula that I could compare this to. I very briefly did own the Milk Makeup Flex Stick, but I very much disliked that one and had to return it. I would say that this formula falls in between the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Hydrating Foundation Stick and the Milk Makeup Flex Stick formula. I should love this foundation. It has all the qualities that I'm looking for, but somewhere along the line, it just misses the mark. It doesn't wear well underneath a mask, which for the foreseeable future is a must-have trait in a foundation. Some other issues that I had when I was using this foundation, it didn't cover or wear well over active breakouts. It clung to all of my dry patches. It emphasized texture that I didn't even know that I had. It would get really cakey if I tried to build it up at a higher coverage level, and it would always gather around my nose. My biggest problem though should come as no surprise, and that is the price point. Look, I really really don't want to be known for or get a reputation for having these long-winded rants in all of my review videos, but here we are, 4 videos in a row with long-winded rants that nobody asked for. I will pop on the screen a timestamp if you wanted to skip this part of the review. Also, I do have painstakingly detailed timestamps in the description box if you ever needed those for reference. In my Milk Makeup Sunshine Skin Tint review, I had a very similar complaint that the amount of product doesn't justify the price point. Luckily though, I only had to sift through 15 foundations instead of 74 for this review. Breaking it down, the Merit Minimalist Foundation Stick comes with 0.13 ounces for $38. Now, it's pretty standard with balm, cream, stick formulas that you get less than the standard liquid foundation, but you don't get this little. This is just not an acceptable amount of product, especially at this price point. Diving deeper into my little rabbit hole, there are 15 stick foundations at Sephora. The Merit Minimalist Foundation Stick has the least amount of product, yet retails for the 8th most expensive foundation stick at Sephora. Math tells me that there's 7 less expensive foundations. The foundation that has the second least amount of product is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. That has 0.25 ounces and retails for $46. You get almost double the amount of product in the Hourglass Foundation Stick for $8 more. Surprisingly, to me anyway, is that the foundation stick with the most amount of product is the Tom Ford Traceless Foundation Stick. That has 0.5 ounces and retails for $88, which is also the most expensive foundation stick that Sephora has. You would have to buy 4-ish Merit foundation sticks to get anywhere close to that amount of foundation, and it would cost you $152. I would keep going, but I think that that's enough information to demonstrate my point. Actually, no. You know I can't let this go. I have 1 or 2 more things that I'd like to add in before moving on. I happened to notice I still had a tab open in my browser that had the Merit Flush Blush open. The reason this is relevant is that I took a look at the size of the blush and the price, and it turns out in the blush you get 0.31 ounces for $28. So you get double, 2.5 times the amount of product in the blush for $10 cheaper than the foundation. Obviously, I had to check the highlighter. The highlighter you get 0.14 ounces for $30. How did they set these prices? What was the thought process here? I have been trying to connect the dots, and honestly, I've got nothing. The only scenario that I've come up with is that they've been throwing darts at a dartboard, and wherever it lands, that's the price. I didn't say it was a good scenario, I just said it's the only one I have. Changing gears, let's talk about the claims the Merit Minimalist Foundation Stick makes. Between the name of the product and the description, I'm getting some mixed messages. It's either a foundation and a concealer, or it's not a foundation and a concealer. I had not intended for a secondary rant to be part of this review, but here we are. The name of this product is the Minimalist Perfecting Complexion Foundation and Concealer Stick. Pretty straightforward, right? The Sephora description says that it's a complexion stick that's meant to replace your foundation and concealer. I feel like we're just arguing semantics with that one. The Merit website says it's not a foundation or a concealer, but it's gonna replace them. Okay, fine. The box that it comes in says it's not a foundation or concealer, it's both. See? Mixed messages. What is it supposed to be? Why does everything say something different? Was there even a team put together to work on this? Or did everyone work separately and there was no communication? Even if we take the Sephora example out and only compare what the Merit website and the packaging says, Those don't even have the same message on it. Not to mention the name of the product, which says foundation and concealer stick. I just can't with this foundation. So, foundation, I would say yes. Concealer, again, I would say yes. Not my preferred way to use this product, but yes, you can use it as a concealer. Lightweight and breathable. Yes, the Merit website lists the coverage as light to medium buildable, and the Sephora website mentions that the coverage is medium. My experience is more on the Merit side of things, that it applies light and you can build this up to medium. It does get cakey. I know that the founder mentioned in one of her videos that there is a way to build this to full coverage. I have no idea how she did it, and I wouldn't recommend trying it. If it gets cakey at medium, I can only imagine what it would look like built up to full. I would do a lot for science, but I won't do that. Natural finish. Yes. Mimics skin texture. Yes. Hydrating. Yes and no. It doesn't make my skin feel tighter, but it doesn't necessarily make my skin feel hydrated. I know that it doesn't do as good of a job at keeping my face hydrated as the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Hydrating Foundation Stick did. Doesn't settle into fine lines. That's mostly true. I feel like it would just be petty to continue digging into things that I don't agree with about the claims or the description of the foundation concealer stick, since I already have 2 rants in this review. So I will refrain from putting in any more criticisms than I already have, because I think at this point they are just unnecessary and repetitive. But I want you to know I have more things that I take issue with. And I'm not putting them in here because I have some self-control. At this point of the review, I would typically share what foundations I think are similar to this one, and I would give my recommendation on who would or would not like this foundation. But for reasons I'm sure are already clear to you, I'm just going to forego the typical format of the review and tell you no one should buy this foundation. I know how this sounds, but truly, there are so many other stick foundations, maybe not at Sephora, but at the drugstore and other retailers, that you don't have to settle for this one. Also, the price point is a joke. I thought it was bad enough with the Milk Makeup Sunshine Skin Tint, but wow. We can't let this brand or other brands think that these price points are okay. Buying this foundation only enables them and encourages them to continue setting prices at ridiculous price points because they think people will buy them. Do not make the same mistake that I did. Do not buy this foundation. I'm going to begrudgingly finish this foundation. I'm sure it will only take a few days since I'm already about halfway through it, but I don't recommend it, and I would never repurchase this. I hope you found this review helpful. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. If you have any other videos you'd like to see from me or any other foundations you think I should check out, definitely let me know down below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you again very soon in my next video.
But this